Hello, this is Corriece Gwynn, and welcome to Homes of Color. Today, I am introducing a two-part series we have on a Black-owned winery in Northern Virginia. The name of the winery is called Sweet Vines Farm Winery, and it's in Unionville, Virginia. The website is www.thevines.farm. The owner of the winery is Seidah Armstrong, and one of our board members, Penny Shaw, had the opportunity to interview Seidah. So, welcome to part one of the Sweet Vines Farm Winery episode. Thank you very much.
Hello,
Hi.
how are you doing?
I'm doing well.
This is Mrs. Seidah Armstrong,
That's true. That's correct.
who is in charge and owner of Sweet Vines Farm Winery, established in 2018. And she's got a story that she wants to tell. And as part of Homes of Color, we are anxious to hear this story because we think people would like to know how, why, and what are your dreams of what you're going to do next?
Well, thank you for having me, Homes of Color. I am a third generation winemaker. My great grandmother and great great grandmother were winemakers out of Mississippi. And just like others, they did the Great Migration and moved to Memphis, Tennessee. My grandmother actually moved to Chicago, and that's where I was born. But I've been in Virginia for 27 years. I always jokingly say I was the middle school principal who was passionate about being an entrepreneur, and I've been an entrepreneur as long as I can remember. And so winemaking for me, I didn't know was a family tradition. So I actually went an unconventional route, just enjoying the art of winemaking. I discovered that I had a natural affinity to making wine when, as a former middle school principal, one of my former teachers' husband made wine. And we were invited over, my husband and I were invited over their homes for dinner, and we tasted his wine. He said, "Would you like to see where I make my wine?" And when I saw it, something in me, and this was 2006, told me that I could do this. And so I started researching, and I started testing the waters. And I remember even taking a couple of my colleagues at the time to make wine in Northern Virginia. They had a place in Alexandria. And what was hilarious about that is I remember going through that process and me being underwhelmed. It was a great experience for everybody. I was like, this is not how you make wine, you know? And, you know, what people don't realize is Virginia is the birthplace of America's wine, of course, right? Then you have Thomas Jefferson with this huge vineyard, and his goal was to have all the vines from around the world. And that's like loose history. So I say all that to say that there was definitely a market here in Virginia. You know, you go to California, you see Napa Valley, and I've been a couple of times to Napa, and I thought that was like the way to through becoming a winery and a vineyard, not knowing that there was already an establishment here, a firm foundation here, and so I would just make bottles and give it away. My first bottle was Pinot Noir. And then from there, I remember going to Whole Foods and striking a deal with Whole Foods to purchase my grapes in bulk. That's not a conventional way to do it at all, but I did not know how to get into the Virginia business. I didn't even know there was a Virginia Wine Association, Virginia Vineyard Association. I'm a part of it, you know, but my first trial and error was definitely trial and error. And fast forward about 10 years, my aunt heard that I was making wine, Ethel Sawyer, and actually keep her brick. She has a brick. We have an Ancestors founding members, and it's $1,000 to be a lifetime member here. but we have an annual membership that's $100 a month. Ethel Sawyer said, did you know that your great-grandmother and great-great-grandmother made wine? I had no idea. Now, this is where this just becomes an amazing story, because they made muscadine wine. They made dandelion wine, right? And so some of the first grapes that I was able to make wine from was muscadine. I've never tried dandelion because I can't even fathom picking up all those dandelions to, that must be required to make that type of wine. But I definitely make a varietal using the dandelion, using the muscadine wine. And the muscadine is not your regular vinifera, that we're accustomed to when we go into a wine store and say, hey, this is what I'm looking for. I'm looking for like a, I can't even think of a wine right now, like a Petit Manseng. That's a Bordeaux wine, a French wine from the Bordeaux region, or Petit Verdot. And I mentioned those two. Petit Manseng is a small white grape, and Petit Verdot is a small French red grape. And they do well in our Virginia red clay. And so you'll see those wines in abundance here in Virginia. So you try to use varietals that are, that complement your land, the terroir, as we would say, of the region. And so for me, that was on the back end of it. I was just making wine to make wine, right? And then when I learned that, oh no, this is a huge community in Virginia, then I realized that I had to really focus on the Virginia varietals that grow well here. So you have Native American grapes, and then you have your varietals that are, from French descent. It can be like a vine from Spain. It can be from Portugal. You just never know, right? But if it grows well in our soil, that's the type of grapes that you grow. So currently on our property, we grow Cabernet Franc. We grow Petit Verdot. We grow Chambourcin, which is a hybrid French grape, which is my favorite. I'll allow you to taste it if you would like later on. I actually make 3 wines from that Chambourcin. We actually grow American grapes as well, like Niagara. I do grow the muscadine. We call that the ancestors in honor of my grandmothers. And just a quick funny story, then I'll be quiet. My cousins found out that I was making wine, and the word spread and things like that. And I was like, it's a shame that we never tasted the wine. And I have a cousin, he has to be about 57 now. And he was like, wait a minute, I tasted her wine. He tasted my great grandma Ella's wine. This would be his grandmother, my great grandmother. And I was like, how did you taste grandma's wine? He had to be about 13 or 14. She was still making wine. And I guess she would have him carry it to people who were purchasing wine. And she sat him down and she was just like, hey, I don't ever want this to be a thing where, there's no trust. So she allowed him to taste the wine. And then another cousin tasted the wine as well. So I love that I still have family members who have those childhood memories or those teenage memories where there's somebody who's actually living in our family and say, no, I tasted great grandma wine, and I love that we have that history. So we do have a wine called the Ancestors, and it's made from the Carlos grape, which is a muscadine or scuppernong, and it sells out every time we have it. Every time we have it, it sells out. I make anywhere between 30 and 60 gallons because I try to do, I'm the primary winemaker, and I try to do what I can manage. We have slowly but surely been making larger batches, and we are currently we're currently seeking funds to build a barn, an event barn / operational facility, because I need more room to grow. We started here, but we know that if we can continue on this path, we're setting ourselves up for major success. So yeah, I hope that's
Yeah, that's good. They'll cut out stuff,
Yeah,
so don't
yeah.
worry about that. Question. When you first started,
yes.
what was in your mind?
So when I first started, again, I didn't have that connection to my grandmother's. Winemaking has become, and not to even get emotional about it, but I do, like, when my Aunt Ethel revealed to me that there was this connection, it just became a mission, right? Like, oh, I have to do this. I knew that I wanted a venue. I knew that I wanted to make wine just for people to try. I never knew it would turn into this, where we have events here. We have reggae at the vineyard. We have jazz at the vineyard. We just had a holiday jazz brunch in December of 2023. I never knew that I would be one of the first African Americans, women in the state of Virginia. African American women represent 0.0001% in this industry. We don't exist. Now,
3 zeros?
you heard me, 0.0001. That's what, 1/1000th of a percent. That's what we represent in this industry. Now, there are women who are, there are African American women who are up and coming. There are women who have been in the industry for a while, and they were like isolated and the only ones for like years, like maybe 10, 20, 30 years before the next set of African American women in the last, let's say 5, 10 years have started coming aboard. And I want to say COVID really helped spark a lot of other women and men of color to embark upon this industry.
Yes.
So, but I'm thinking Theopolis Wine was one of the first African American women to start, and she is out of California. And then I want to say Rideau was the first. Iris Rideau was like the first woman of color in modern day, right? So, but if you look at the larger scale, John Lewis, who is right here in Virginia, he's the African American grandfather of winemaking and having a winery. And you can do the research, and John Lewis Sr., they're even, like, if you go into the archives, you'll see old pictures of like his wine being advertised. So, and he was from Virginia, so you hear these stories all the time, right? Like the Uncle Nearest story and things like that. Well, we had gentlemen like that. So I look at my grandmothers and know that there were other African Americans before us. So I can't truly say that I'm the first anything, because there were those who paved the way. But in 21st century winemaking, I am the winemaker. So I don't do a custom crush. That means I don't go to anybody else to get my juice. I make it here on this property. I have collaborated with others in this industry. But I am the primary winemaker for Sweet Vines Farm Winery. I'm the owner and operator of Sweet Vines Winery. I'm the main tasting room consultant. I call myself a tasting ambassador. I do have a couple of friends and a cousin who also are tasting ambassadors on my behalf when I am unavailable here in the tasting room. But I create experiences. So when you come here, you're not just tasting the good quality wine. You're getting the Seidah experience. You're getting the ancestors experience. We're actually creating an ancestors garden on this property, which is you're on 122 acres today. So we're trying to expand. So we have an opportunity to buy more land on the other side of the creek, in which has a higher elevation, And so when it's all said and done, Sweet Vines may jump from 100 acres to 200 something acres when it's all said and done. But that's because of the rich history in this area. So Unionville, after slavery, Blacks were allowed to buy land, and we're close to Freetown, which is one of the first places that Blacks were able to buy land. And we have some amazing families like the Carter family who've been here since day one, and we actually attached our back 50 acres attached to them, and they have an established farm that is least since it's over 100 years old, let's say.
You said that you have 100 and how many?
I currently have 122 acres.
Okay.
Yes. I like to tell people that Unionville chose me. You know, people always ask me, like, how did you get this land? How did you come across it? The simple thing is on Zillow. But the more complex is when I just knew, you know how it really spoke to me. This was like my heart song. When I came here, I knew it. I saw the vision, even when others could not see it. Just even it being in this room, we had to knock down a wall to make this an open space. You know, there was no light in here. It was just like one light in here, and this room was fuchsia. This bar, of course, wasn't in here. This is an old late 1800 home, barn house, farmhouse, I guess I should say, not barn house, farmhouse. That actually, the gentleman before us resided in here. This was his summer home until he retired. And he actually, the fireplace that's behind us, that I'm sure you'll take pictures of later, that used to be outside. So if you imagine, like in the 1800s or 1900s, that fireplace where you cooked, that's where you washed your clothes. That was like the gathering place for warm areas, to be warm. And he actually enclosed it into this space and created this piece of the property. The original house is where I actually make my wine. And then there's an upstairs to it. So this will eventually become a bed and breakfast, and we will build our home on this property. And we actually opened December 2021. That was when we opened our doors. I know that was a mouthful.
You said that you've had events here.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Could you tell us about the events and how people can contact you to get the events, get on your event calendar?
Absolutely. So we're on Facebook and Instagram. Instagram is Sweet Vines VA, SweetVines VA. And then, of course, on Facebook is just Sweet Vines Farm Winery. You can find Sweet Vines Farm Winery. We have had people from all over, from Delaware, from New Jersey, West Virginia. So they come, you know, when they hear that we're here, that they hear that there's a African-American woman who has a winery and vineyard, and our vines are developing. And it takes about 5 years to get to the point of full development. And so one thing I learned right away is that I had to leave vines. And so that's what I've been able to do, you know. And anyone who comes through this door and say that they want to open, I provide my business plan if they want it. I provide how to look for land, because land ownership is where we need to be. And that's another story for another day. However, I could talk a whole day about just the importance of African Americans going back to their roots and buying up as much land as they can. So, to get back to events, you know, we try to have one event in a month. And in our slower months, which is November through January, I'm like praying that people come through the door, come through the door, come buy some wine. And just enjoy the experiences. So we try to partner with different local businesses, African American businesses, to just stay relevant and to let people know. We were partnering with the Popcorn Bag, which was It's a franchise, small franchise, but it was an African American owner in Fredericksburg who just sold. And so I'm looking for a new partner in the popcorn business. But when I do have events, I try to make it relevant for other vendors as well. So when I host an event here at Sweet Vines Farm Winery, to the public, vendors can come and set up for free because I'm on 122 acres. And so you don't have a booth rent to pay here or anything. And that's when I'm hosting an event sponsored by Sweet Vines Farm Winery. So yeah.
Now,
let me say one more thing. We also have weddings here.
okay.
That's huge. We also do weddings here, and you know, it's pretty special to be able to take a landscape like this and have an outdoor farm style wedding.
Tell us about the accoutrements that you have, because I noticed that you have some buildings.
Yeah, we do.
And you have look like a pool back there.
Yes, ma'am.
Tell us about the conception of how you went about putting all this together for the wedding venue.
Yes. It's so important and it's still growing. So for us, it was wow, it's a lot of land. What can you do with the land? So we actually have joined several apps where you can actually camp here. If you want to do a glamping, that's a little different price than camping. And camping means you get your tent and you set up. But glamping means you want a more personalized, glamorous experience. And we have she suites and he suites on the property. So where they're multi-purpose glamorized sheds, right? So we call them our suites. So they are fully air conditioned, heat in there. And if you want to use a restroom, you actually just walk over to the pool house. They're in walking distance, just like if you're regular camping. And we have actually installed a shower in the pool house. You actually have a female bathroom with 2 stalls and a separate male bathroom. There's a sitting area and a television in the pool house. You can rent out our space for family reunions. We've had family reunions on the property where people rent out for family reunions. And then you can rent the pool. The pool comes with a lifeguard when you decide that you want that as part of your package. And we have a covered deck as well that, you know, can hold 80 people comfortably. We have commercial sized tents on the property. And we've had like private events, like people rent out all the time, like different organizations for various things. So the she suite and he suite have been rented out even by local universities, like for small business events or things like that, or for retreats. So yeah, quite a bit going on, a lot.
Yeah, but what is the biggest wedding party that you've had here?
That's coming up this year. We have a wedding in September of 2024, where we are anticipating 200 people,
Okay.
According to the bride and the groom. The biggest event that we've had here, we've actually had oh my gosh, I can't even think what group it was. We had a band here. Oh, Go-Go at the Vineyard. I'm right by DC. Go-Go at the Vineyard brought over 300 people here.
Okay.
So yeah. And we had Go-Go at the Vineyard last year, let's say in April, and then we had to have them come back, this band from Charlottesville come back. 100 Proof Band, that's their name. And they came back for our crab feast. We have an annual crab feast here every August. And it's all you can eat crabs. And we actually have a beer garden along with the wine, and we have go-go music. And I'm gonna tell you, it's a good time. And it brings all ethnicities.